Hi everybody, Scott here. I just thought I'd make another INFJ video. I'm just preparing for my live stream today in the US. It'll be happening this evening. So if you're seeing this video very soon after it's released, feel free to come to the live stream tonight as I'll be talking about aspects of the self and how to recognize and understand aspects of self and how to move forward and resolve some of the issues that we can carry. This video, I guess, goes into it in a certain way. There's a bit of overlap between what I'm talking about here and what I'm talking about tonight in the live stream. So on the topic of INFJ and pain, looking at it from the metaphor or the image of the pincushion. Often I think INFJs are referred to as like a sponge. You know, they soak in the atmosphere. Whatever's going on in the environment, it soaks it in. Today I want to sort of talk about it from a pincushion perspective, because certain things can, like if you think the environment are like there's pins in the environment, different pins can go can be pushed into that pincushion at various depths depending on where the INFJ is at and what's important to them and you know, their own inner makeup. Certain things can be felt more deeply than other things. So in a sense you could say that the INFJ is like the world's pincushion. They're aware of their environment in a fundamental way. And that in and of itself can carry, it can be a painful type of place to live from. And I think also INFPs might be able to identify with this, and NFs in general. And I think, you know, maybe more broadly, the other temperaments can have some experience of this, but I think the NF temperament often has a more profound experience of this. So before I go on, I just want to acknowledge that in a way, as I'm coming into this video, I'm thinking of pain from sort of two different places. There's the INFJ's personal life and the pain that they can experience in their own personal relationships and you know, things that are of a more personal nature. But there's also this other kind of pain, which is the pain I'm wanting to talk about today, which is more the pain that the INFJ just experiences generally in their life when they're in the world. And you could say that, in a sense, the INFJ, it's not their pain. The INFJ is experiencing the pain in their environment. And so it's really important for INFJs to be wise about where they place themselves in the world, depending on where an INFJ is at in their lifespan and some of the other factors that sort of determine choice. Some INFJs don't have a lot of choice regarding the environment they're in, especially INFJ children. But as we get a bit older, we can decide who we want to be around or where we want to go, so that the INFJ is minimizing the sort of pincushion phenomenon, so that they are better able to sort of self-regulate and keep that, you could say, that sensory, their sensory radar is more manageable. And when I say sensory radar, I mean when the INFJ is in the sensory world, they're picking up all of this content. So as I was saying before, various environments, various things going on in an environment can penetrate deeper than other things. So, and that can sort of come down to an INFJ's personal value system, their own life experience, the things that are important to them. But certain things can go a little deeper. And there's, you know, I think there's evidence out there that for some INFJs, as they get older, the sensitivity of this of their radar kind of gets more acute, it gets more sensitive. They're able to pick up more things as their NI and their FE develop. So as an INFJ is getting older, it's really important, again, as I say, to start making better decisions or more wise decisions about where they place themselves in the world to manage that. For some INFJs, because of that NIFE pairing, and especially in the early years growing up, there's not an awareness that the pincushion, that you could say FE pincushion, NI pincushion, don't think it really matters, but in a sense it's not them. So it is them, but it's not them, of course. So like I was saying before, the INFJ can have personal life experience where rejection and setbacks. They experience pain, like everybody else does. But this other sort of pain can be blurred, and so the INFJ, the sort of pincushion of the INFJ also identifies that as themselves. And in a kind of way, it's not. And what I mean by that, it's not. Maybe just requires some explanation. The INFJ can experience the pinpricks in, if you like, in the pincushion, and either be taking it personally or internalizing it, carrying the environment that they're in, seeing in some ways that they're somehow responsible for it, or that they need to do something about it. And that's kind of where the weight of the world can come in. And because in a sense the INFJ is picking up the environment, and so without a filtering, without some internal boundaries, the INFJ can actually start to feel like they're now responsible for what it is that they're picking up. And a lot of that awareness, they're not responsible for. It all depends on who they are, where they are, what's going on. So we can make a whole series about that. But for the most part, an INFJ in the workplace, an INFJ within the schoolyard, an INFJ even like within a group of friendship circles, when they're picking up a whole lot of stuff, a lot of it is not their responsibility. They don't have to do anything about it. But because they feel it, because they see it, they can see dynamics and so on, there's a feeling of responsibility. So it can be really helpful for an INFJ to recognize that the difference between what is personally their responsibility, what pain is actually theirs and what they need to deal with in their own personal lives, and what is that environment, what is other people's pain, what is other people's responsibility. And that requires a journey, building of self-awareness to figure all of that out. But it can be helpful when an INFJ's sensitivity is taking the environment personally, to recognize that there is a separation between themselves, their true self, if you like, and the pincushion around them that is absorbing and taking all of these hits. And recognizing what is theirs, or what is the outside world, and what is our own legitimate issue or things or that we need to deal with, or the pain that we carry. So if you sort of imagine like the pincushion and all the pins in it. Now, the pins could be things like the pins could be so many different things, but just to throw out a few examples, is the pin in the cushion could be something like observing a conflict between two people in a supermarket. I think I've often referred to supermarkets in my videos. I think I have anyway. And the reason for that is I worked in one. Was my first job out of high school, and I think I witnessed a lot of conflicts between people in supermarkets. So I think that's where some of these examples come from. But just being in the shopping aisle, observing a conflict between people can just have an impact. The INFJ can be picking up the pain, hearing the words, feeling the destruction that's taking place within the interaction. It could be just watching a news article. It could be just driving past an old person, walking down the street, and you can just see the life, the toll that life has had on them, and you can kind of get a sense of, the burdens that they've carried and the pain and the sadness that might be there. Being, in a big crowd can be anxiety provoking, all of the sensory inputs. For me personally, I sort of take care of what I watch. I was never a big sort of horror movie person growing up, and things like that. I'll probably watch the occasional one, like with a friend if they were wanting to watch it or something like that. But these days I won't go anywhere near that sort of stuff. It's just too unsettling seeing the imagery, and even sort of like psychodramas, where there's people, portrayed as totally psychopathic, serial killers, this sort of thing. It's just an area that I try for the most part to avoid, because if I'm watching something like that, I get inside the head of them, and I can sort of see what's going on. I almost experience the pathology that's in that show. And so I don't need to do that to myself anymore. So bringing it back to a broad concept, the pincushion can be so many different things. And some of it is not avoidable, some of it is avoidable. But it's helpful to not see, it's helpful to see that the self, the true self, in the way that I coin it, is actually unaffected by all of this stuff. I think as INFJs, we identify with the pincushion as the self, and like I've said, in a sense it is, because we're experiencing it, so we have to take care of it, but we don't have to take it personally what's going on around us, and recognize that there is a separation. There is a part of me, there's a part of self that is unaffected by all of this stuff, that knows who it is, that is unaffected by the currents of the air, currents of life, and the events going around, in and around the INFJ. That part is separate, and just kind of putting that out there, kind of acknowledging that, can help to kind of create a little bit of separation between that and the pincushion of self, if you like, or the pincushion part that we experience, and recognize that a lot of that I don't have to be responsible for, I don't have to carry anymore. It's not my fault. I don't necessarily have to do anything about what I'm seeing or I'm feeling. What we do need to be responsible for is what we do with what we pick up, and figuring out what we're not responsible for can be is like the first step, very important and very powerful. And then also it's like, what do I do with the feelings that I'm feeling here? It can be helpful to talk about them with people if needed, but in a lot of cases it can just simply be about that personal awareness. Hang on, is this mine, or is this from the environment? Is this part of the pincushion? And that clarity can create a manageability about how the INFJ is in the world, and how they, in a sense, experience the self. And in a sense, that can reduce the level of pain that they're carrying. It may not necessarily pick up the amount of pain that they see in the world and notice and absorb, but it can certainly help the INFJ to decide what they do with it. So I hope this video is helpful. Again, if you're seeing this video when it's uploaded, there's a live stream tonight where I'll be talking about, following on from last month, where I talked about the roots that we can develop in childhood that can be either positive or negative, and how that can impact our development and ultimately like the fruit that we experience in our lives. And some of it's good fruit, some of it's not good fruit, and how we often try to manage I guess the poor roots and the poor fruits of ourselves. And last time I talked about how we can become dependent, have dependencies on things to manage life, in order to cope with the pain of not knowing who we are and some of the pain of life. Today I'm going to be talking about, in the next live stream, which will be episode 3, we'll be looking at protectors and exiles, how we internally can develop to protect ourselves from our environment, or as a result of needing to protect ourselves from our environment, and how we can protect ourselves from our own pain and from the pain of the world. Different kind of concept to the one I presented today, though. So if you're interested in coming along, I'll be answering questions at the end of that presentation, and so I just welcome you to come along to that and hope to see you there. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again in another video.